January 8th, the U.S. decided to deploy more troops in South Korea. 800 of the 1st Battalion troops from Fort Hood, Texas, will be sent to South Korea. Some of the troops are being deployed to Camp Hovey in Dongducheon of the Cheonggi-do province. And the other troops are being deployed in Camp Stanley, located just east of the city of Uijeongbu. All of these troops have had extensive combat training from Afghanistan and Iraq. North Korea has been a rising threat for both South Korea and the United States. North Korea has been seen testing nuclear weapons, and that concerns the U.S. and South Korea. Supreme Leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, has a strong military mindset, and unfortunately, war may be inevitable. Luckily, South Korea and the U.S. are allies, so this gives the U.S. a place to keep the troops near North Korea. The U.S. does not want to start a war by sending these troops to South Korea. The Army is just trying to prepare in case war does break out. If war was to occur, the U.S. would be ready to defend from and/or attack the North Koreans. Cedric Layton, a retired Air Force officer, said, "We're reassuring the South Koreans that we will continue to maintain a tripwire of American forces on the Korean peninsula, or in other words, means that America will keep a small first line of defense in South Korea, and if war does start, more troops will be sent."
Bo Xilai, a former city major, provincial governor, and a minister of commerce for China, was sentenced to life last year. He was charged for bribe-talking, embezzlement, and abuse of power. During his time as Minister of Commerce, he was a political star in the eyes of the Chinese. In the peak of his career, he was compared to that of John F. Kennedy. During his time in Chongqing, he campaigned against crime. He also promoted security and police presence in the city. He started the Red Culture movement, which promoted the ideas of the Cultural Revolution. After his sentence, he was sent to Kunching prison in Beijing. It is home to many other fallen political figures. It is known to be hotel-like compared to the other Chinese prisons. His wife is also serving a life sentence at Qingcheng for the murder of a British businessman. His son recently graduated from Harvard. In 2012, Xilai was expelled from the Communist Party and later from Parliament, just months before his trial started. During court, he repeatedly denied the charges and interrupted the judge. 2 months after he was found guilty, he filed for an appeal. In October of 2013, the Jinan High People's Court upheld the guilty verdict in his appeal trial. The trial is one of the most transparent criminal trials in China and set to change Western stereotypes of China and its behind-closed-door policies. The verdict ended one of the messiest political scandals in Communist China in decades. Bo could still file for an appeal to the nation's Supreme People's Court.
Myanmar is having many tensions and conflicts between different ethnicities, which is causing attention all over the world. Japan, especially, is trying to help this Southeast Asian country, which seems to be deteriorating quickly. Myanmar, as of now, is full of fighting. The country is very poor, and it is on an isolated military dictatorship. Conflicts go all the way back to 1948 when the military declared Buddhism as their national religion. a riot occurred known as the 8888 Uprising, where most non-Buddhist people protested, which included students and even monks. Conflicts in Myanmar include religious and ethnic tensions, which led to the riots and fights, and hundreds of people and children were killed. Most of the conflicts are between the Buddhists and Muslims. There are also fights over natural resources such as water, tin, and natural gas.
Normally, on a weekday, this school building would echo with the sounds of children's voices. But today, all that remains is rubble and burnt schoolbooks. According to human rights campaigners, 20 Muslim students were murdered here in March when religious violence swept through this city in central Myanmar. A Buddhist monk had been killed, and people took their revenge across the whole area.
I saw bodies on fire, but we weren't there when they were attacked. We heard it happened on the morning of the 21st. I needed to see for myself. There were so many there, at least 30 bodies.
The two groups blamed each other for the violence, which caused the Buddhists to flee to Bangladesh. The authorities have been accused of not acting swiftly with all of the violence going on. The government declared a state of emergency across the state because of the authorities' lack of urgency in the situation. Thein Sein, Myanmar's president, appointed in 2011, has hopes of turning the country into a peaceful and democratic country, the exact opposite of what it is now. They also hope it will be an official member of the world community. Myanmar wanted the controversy to be settled by July, then it was pushed to October, and now hopefully by this November. They need it settled by 2015 because that is when their next election is, and they need the country to be solid and strong. Japan has guaranteed $96 million to help reform the country. Their first priority is building a foundation for Myanmar and to boost the standards of living for the people. Once Japan achieves that, they are looking at building roads, schools, hospitals, and creating jobs throughout the country. Japan also helped out by canceling Myanmar's $2.72 billion debt that they owed.
On January 5th of this year, Bangladesh held a nationwide election. Though boycotted by the opposition parties, including the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, the election still took place. This was the major factor for low voting attendance in what many are calling a biased election. The main party, the Awami League, claimed the polls were impartial. However, the government refused to instate a neutral caretaker government to control the vote. This would prevent the government from influencing the election. Many citizens believe that this made the elections unconstitutional and non-democratic.
We will not allow voting for as long as democracy is not restored. This is a democratic country. All of us who support democracy are protesting this election.
As part of the protests, citizens set fire to polling stations, many of which were designated as school buildings. They also knocked down trees, blocked roads, and even attacked police stations. Police used tear gas and guns to stop the protests, leading to over 20 deaths on voting day. This came as no surprise, as Bangladesh has seen street violence for many months. Other reasons for the protests include the distrust of current Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and that about half of the winners of the election were unopposed. Bangladesh Nationalist Party leader Khalida Zia encouraged her supporters to completely boycott the elections. Following the election, the opposition has demanded for a re-election to occur. However, as time moves on, it seems less and less likely for the re-election to occur.